Peace. Peace. Happy now. Now is the vibrate, of course. Not going too far in the future. Not going too far in the past. Right now. I want to speak on, matter of fact, going into this, definitely go check out my videos where I speak on psychedelics, whether I'm speaking about the LSD, mushrooms, or DMT. They all have this similar vibe of checking your ego, basically, Again, I won't go through the basis of, back explaining psychedelics in general, but, again, just speaking on a part of the experience, because part of the experience, especially like with DMT, DMT, is secreted during near-death experience. As a matter of fact, it's secreted by a pineal gland for those of us who's very new to this. Matter of fact, go research pineal gland and DMT, just to get you a little basis before, because another thing with, watching some of these videos with, it's all right because for you just going with the flow of like, let me just ask this and that, but, you want to do some type of surface research, beforehand, and multiple vibes of research to, see how information add up. So you could see like, all right, instead of like just depending on just universal frequencies or just so and so to tell me everything about this subject matter, it's like, well, you got to do some research other than from one source, But, with psychedelics, matter of fact, again, DMT, near-death experiences, death experiences, and lucid dreaming is when DMT is secreted. And, and I speak to this vibe with DMT, but also acid kind of has this vibe as well, where it's basically, it's almost like it makes you feel like you're going through the afterlife, quote unquote, like you're going through the transition situation, and you seeing all of your, your subconscious shadows, like almost like all the things that you came down here to clear, in essence, like all the things that as a soul, when you came down here on this human experience, you're like, bro, I'm gonna work out this energy, I'm gonna work out this energy. I got this family karma, of our family dealing with cancer and heart disease, so I'm gonna transmute that energy in this lifetime. It's like all these different things, we these different tests and lessons we come down here to learn, and again, dealing with the acid and DMT, sometimes you'll feel like it's like that reassessment, and and I done spoke to it before where some people, like when I did like a little trip sitting vibes, like some people came to that point, which we all done probably had that point, depending on how far you done went, where you like, oh shit, am I quote unquote dead? Have I transitioned? Because the energy, because you feel like, because another thing too, our soul memory is also activated during these experiences. So as we're going through certain parts of it, reason why, they have that part where we like, oh shit, because the soul remembers this process. So like, whoa, wait, hold on. And then too, the body like, wait, what the fuck? You know what I'm saying? Too, like, wait. I wasn't ready. Of course, that's the body case always, the egoic mind never ready for change. But again, it's again, like a death process, and a lot of people, call these situations, quote unquote, ego death, and that's a broad terminology. And for myself, I kind of make sure when I say that word, kind of give the meaning of it more so just, death to the ego, not completely, but on a level where the ego finally realized that it ain't shit, and that it's just a part of this situation and not the main part of the situation. Basically, it's like dealing with psychedelics, it kind of like busts your ego up on some shit like, bro, you more than just Kari, you know what I'm saying? It is like you are part of this whole, and yeah, you do have little parts of your soul purpose, but you're a part of a bigger picture. You know what I'm saying? Like again, it just breaks your ego down on so many levels, but not to get rid of it, you know, because again, it does, you know, have some healthiness to have a body. You know, we here in this physical plane, you know, in order to do work on this physical plane, I got to make sure this bodysuit is in tip-top condition. You know what I'm saying? So I'm making sure I take care of my it's like taking care of your astronaut suit, you know, your bodysuit. But what I want to get into, you know, is like how, and I spoke again, these little ego checks while you're on psychedelics. In one of my videos, I spoke about how, like, you know, matter of fact, in Venice, you know, and on my little journey, you know, and again, the telepathy is raised, you know, like when you're in that zone, it's almost like as above, so below. The people, especially more so though, people who've done it themselves, you know, people who've done it themselves know, you know, the same vice versa, like with me trip sitting and knowing like, all right, when that person had this face, that must mean it, you know, I remember that feeling in that face and I'm feeling the energy, but it's like, oh, I remember that they feel like they done transition, you know. But again, it's like that game recognized game. So I'm at the beach, you know, dealing with my bracelets, you know. And I told this recently in a video, and my brethren came up to me. And again, like the acid more so is a strong ego check. You know, it's really tapping into those dark areas of the psyche and those little sneaky little areas that you think, you know, because you're on your spiritual growth and you've been taking care of shit, you know what I'm saying? Like you may think you got it covered across the board, but it's these little sneaky areas that the egoic mind creeping in, you know, you know, just kind of like just waiting to kind of pull you down in that area, you know, and for me it was, you know, dealing with and again, not that's the thing too, is pulling on, you know, just the smallest percent. So you don't even have to be in, again, like you don't even have to be showing this outwardly or even feeling it to the utmost, but you know, as far as the egoic mind, but like it's just certain aspects again of our egoic mind that's, you know, be kind of and the acid kind of just amplify. And when I say amplify, just amplifies the vibe of you being able to see it, you know what I'm saying? So again, with me being on the beach selling my jewelry, Brethren was like, man, that's some nice bracelets right there. Basically, you know, because sometimes, and with any of us, you know, dealing with crystals or just, you know, especially any earth sign beings, so like a Capricorn, Virgo, or Taurus, you know, we earthly plane beings, so we kind of like the little earthly treasures and enjoy them, you know, and but it's not to the point of, you know, getting caught up in just the outer beauty, you know, of the crystals, you know, and just looking at it as just an object, you know, and matter of fact, and being so into it to where it's almost like, again, pulling you more into the matrix, you know. But it was basically a check on my ego in the area of like, you know, like, oh, these are my crystals, you know. But basically, and I caught it in that moment when he was like, oh man, how much, that's beautiful, man. And I felt it, because what was about to happen was my ego was about to get tickled, and I was about to, you know, start talking like, oh yeah, man, and then I caught it in that minute, in that moment when I was about to go in that direction. I kind of caught it and started laughing like, nah, man, you know, they just regular braces, and I'm laughing as I'm saying it, because I'm catching how, you know, again, how the universe, how itself, you know, was teaching me that lesson, but I caught it right in that moment, like, nah, you know, they just braces, man. You know, they give off good energy, this and that. But you know, and also again a check on your soul to just really, you know, acknowledge that all this shit is a matrix. You know what I'm saying? Like, of course we down here experiencing things, but don't forget that all this shit is, you know, just a bunch of numbers. Like, again, just a bunch of numbers packed tightly, dense into the 3D format. You know, this matrix, a bunch of numbers falling, just condensedly packed into a little 3D package. You know, but this is not our end all, be all to our existence. You know, And I thought about like other little types of questions. Now, this more so of a, again, a realization that, reason why when we on these psychedelic journeys like this, sometimes we have these moments where we feel like we done transition, or or a certain process or situation within the trip feels like familiar, but familiar on a level that's like that predates our bodysuit. You know what I'm saying? And that's because, again, these psychedelic experiences, for the most part, in most cases, and everybody experience is not exactly the same, but for the most part, it is like mimicking the transitioning process. Because again, with that questioning, that ego check is all about. That's why everything is so important about the subconscious mind. Because again, you know, when we got our physical body, because we have a tool called a brain, we also have a conscious mind. you know so we got our conscious mind, and then we got our subconscious mind. The subconscious mind is our soul mind that travels with our soul. The conscious mind is the mind that's attached to this body. So when we transition, the conscious mind, in so many words, the conscious mind ceased to exist, and now we're running off of the subconscious mind when we outside of that bodysuit. Because again, as a soul or spirit, you no longer attached to that, because there's a lot of energies that come with being attached to our bodysuit. But once we come from out of that, then it's just our subconscious, and our subconscious is programmed a certain way. So after you transition, it's like that's not the time to like, all right, let me start programming my subconscious. Like, nah, that's what you had all your time on the earthly plane to do, was to program your subconscious. So from here, you get, you judge yourself off of what your subconscious is reading. What your energy field of your subconscious is reading, and that's your judgment upon yourself. And it's basically a situation of your higher self, just like a acid trip, and how I talk about my homeboy question me. But just like that, like your higher self would be like, hey, how's your mom? Like, I know y'all had so many wonderful situations. Like, how's she been doing? And it's for you in that moment to, subconscious. And I say subconscious because in that realm, of course, you have like somewhat of that's why I said conscious mind, so to speak. Because in that realm, you do have a conscious mind. Like you have your subconscious, but it's like you do have a conscious mind along with it, enough to speak and and talk back. It's not like you like in autopilot where you just like because subconscious in essence is not really speaking with words. It's just kind of soaking things up. And the conscious is what la, 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 la. But again, when you transitioning it, it's just your subconscious, but it's a level. Almost, again, I'm trying to find so many words for it. It's like, again, lack of words. And y'all, again, I'm explaining a situation. Let me say this too. I'm explaining a situation that, for the most part, doesn't really have words and vibrations allocated to it. Or should I say have words allocated to it, because of the vibration of words are so low that they cannot explain some of these infinite processes. So please excuse me on like kind of trying to get these or getting these words together to share this, explain this, but I'm doing my best. But because this is very something telling me again to share this, because it's how important it is. Because again, and how real it is, because I really felt that vibe of like, that's part of the process in us judging ourselves. Is like we sitting there and we almost like being tricked by ourselves. Because say for instance, like with my acid trip on the physical plane, even though it's my homeboy, like my partner that came up to me and was like asking me about the braces, in all actuality, he is just a reflection of my consciousness and vice versa. I'm a reflection of his consciousness. He's a reflection of my consciousness, and basically, not on no ego vibe of like, yeah, he is, I control him and everything. Like, no, that's a reflection of myself that is driven by its own conscious perception, but still a reflection of myself. But again, when I leave my body, then it's just, higher self, aka myself, ourselves judging ourselves. So it'll be like, hey, how's your mom? And then you could be like, you'll get into that vibe, oh man, she's doing great, man. I really love her, man. We went to the store the other day, this and that. And like, so your subconscious running on a program and of being so into, your physical existence. And if you didn't realize that you were God on a human experience, like when you transition, your subconscious is just all about what happened on the earthly plane. Like, oh yeah, and I love, so when your higher self question you, like, how's your mom, and so this is what I mean by the conscious mind to a certain extent in the afterlife, because you somewhat have like but again, it's more of the subconscious, but like the subconscious kind of, because you program that in your subconscious, so so basically that's still the subconscious, because you program it in your subconscious. When your higher self asks you that question, like, how's your mom, the subconscious kind of had an answer back of like, that was a experience with reflections of myself. My mom really wasn't my mom. My mom was a reflection, a conscious reflection, that I was in a physical experience with. Like, it's like, oh, all right, you know what I'm saying? All right, past that, you know what I'm saying? Well, hey, how's the bracelet business? This and that, how the bracelets. Like, that was all of, that was all a facade. I was, that was a part of my physical journey. I'm not no, you know what I'm saying? I'm not no bracelet business owner, all right, pass, all right. But do you remember bringing your kids to school? Man, I know you enjoy bringing your kids to school. Again, this is experience that, those wasn't my kid. I was experiencing a physical, dealing with a physical experience, with these certain reflections. But these reflections and this experience was just that experience and not my true existence. Like, all right. But do you remember your first love? Like that first kiss, man? I know you remember your first kiss. And nah, bro. But what about them white people that was trying to oppress you? I know that made you mad. I know, but it was all just a facade. This was all just, again, a reflection of consciousness. That contrast of pressure to make a diamond out of me. I know it was, again, like the subconscious, on point with it, because you had these realizations while being in this physical plane. So, while you're being questioned by your higher self, your subconscious, in essence, giving out those, those correct answers, so to speak. And again, because if like, say, the questions I just asked, I used to be like, saying, do you remember bringing your kids to school? Like, oh yeah, man, I love bringing my kids to school every day, man. Nothing makes me more happier than this and that. And so also, so say for instance, if your subconscious does not realize that you are like on this physical plane, your subconscious didn't realize that you were God on a human experience, and then you go to that, you transition, and your subconscious, like, on the vibe of like, oh yeah, that earthly experience was real, this and that. After you get questioned in this little area, there's a brief moment of you realizing, like, well, nah, that was all just a little experience. So you kind of like got that little, like, oh damn type of vibe, in so many words. And then you / your higher self kind of gets together for a short little period, really long period, but again, time is of no vibe. But anyway, you and higher self gets together and write up a blueprint or a contract of like, all right, damn, since I forgot this last trip, let me set these lessons in place, since I didn't catch it like that last time, let me come down as a kid in a single parent home instead of having both parents. And, let me get hit by a car at the age such and such so I could learn it. You know what I'm saying? Like, but you writing out, writing out your little contract, and then bam, and you back into that. Like, and part of that contract is forgetting, having somewhat of a memory loss. When signing up for it. Matter of fact, not that Ready Player One. That little show, it was a little cartoon that came on Netflix. I did a little video about it. I forgot the name of it. But it's like a part of the game agreement, like where you win the game and you like not knowing like, well, where this come from? Where this come from? And the whole time at the end, it's like, oh, shit was in the game. Like, yeah, we signed up. You had to sign up for that little memory loss in essence, But that's the basic situation. So again, the process is you question yourself, and depending on how you program, had your subconscious on when you were here in the physical, that's what dictates, how the soul moves from that point. Again, you see, so with being programmed with the subconscious, and say for instance, in this physical plane, you didn't realize that you were God on a human experience. You do get, again, that little sharp moment of realizing, oh shit, almost like that, oh shit, I fucked up type of vibe. But again, but not like I fucked up because there's no good or bad in essence, it's all experience, and if you didn't get it, the situation, that's your part of your experience is going back into this physical plane. Of course, some of us would like to dictate whether this is heaven or hell or da, 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 but you don't want to really get too caught up. Your experience is your experience. Depending on your vibration that you're putting out. But and I don't know if I spoke to this in other videos, but I caught a little download that like some of the little boys who got touched on, by the Catholic Church and stuff like that. I caught a download that, some of those, and again, as I'm speaking of this, get out of your human. This is kind of a higher dimensional conversation. So please, throw your little human moral system, as far as the viewpoint of listening to this, this is higher knowledge, this is not, oh, so-and-so, this and that, But think about, again, we have certain learning situations that we set up for ourselves. And again, after so say for instance, in that little situation, like, so you like, oh man, yeah, I love the earthly plane. And then it's like, all right, now we realize that you subconsciously you didn't get it, so you're gonna be headed back to this plane. Your heart weighing heavier than the feather, so you can't, because it's also a mathematical equation. It's not just because you're answering those questions in a certain way. You're answering those questions in a certain way because your heart weighs heavier than the feather, But again, you got that brief moment of like, all right, shit, that was my experience in the last life, but then let me, teach myself. I learned this way. So like, say for instance, because that's what I was getting to, like the little boys or girls, but mostly boys, that got touched by the Catholic Church and stuff like that. A lot of those kids that got touched were actually some of the elder priests that was doing the touching at one time, like and again, this physical plane also allows for any and all forms of life to evolve and step up. So as much as some people would like to like feel like certain beings or energies are just like don't have a soul. Like every energy on this physical plane has a chance to ascend, you know, in essence, you know, because I know, again, for sure, like with the like the conscious community of, like, you know, that just kind of like to bash white people, or just, you know, like, again, this is bigger than just being black, white, and all this different stuff, you know. This is, you know, a physical experience where we're here learning lessons, you know. So again, like all that other stuff go out the window as far as like the human moralistic system of feeling like, oh, well, that's this or that's that. It's like we have certain you know, a certain hierarchy of doing things that's on a higher consciousness level, you know, and that's why you see too why you're not able to ascend, because if you can't get past certain little human moralistic views, then you could never be able to, you know, like, say for instance, that's why, say for instance, with like the white Europeans that may have a calcified pineal gland and want to, you know, cut everything open to deal with it. Like, how would you be able to allow to be over life, you know, or be a god that's over a planet that's always, you know, when you just want to dissect everything, and you lack compassion. Like, if you lack compassion and dissecting everything, you know, again, it's like initiation. How could you step to that level to become something to sustain life when you're all about, you know, taking it? And again, there's different levels to all of it. You got melanated people that might come down in a non-melanated bodysuit, and you might have a non-melanated bodysuit, you know, where that soul does work on such a high level where it is able to, you know, go into a melanated bodysuit. You know, it's all different. You know, the hierarchy of reincarnation, and, you know, what different beings from different star systems are allowed to, you know, incarnate in this physical experience, you know. As a matter of fact, I think I just finished watching the movie Dune, you know, and Dune, the planet Dune, or Arrakis, you know, go check out the movie, spoiler alert a little bit, but, you know, Arrakis is the personification of Earth, and they mine this thing on Dune called spice, you know, and spice is one of the most essential things in the universe, because matter of fact, because the spice is basically a representation of the Christ seed all, or raising our kundalini, you know, having bliss experience, you know, activating our Taurus field and Merkaba, because basically what the spice allowed for you to travel multi-dimensionally without even moving, you know, so the physical body wouldn't really go nowhere, but you could travel multi-dimensional. That sounds like something, you know, similar right now that we could deal with, you know, again, raising the kundalini, you know, activating the pineal gland, you know, basically that's another personification of that as well, you know, that spice, you know, activating that manna, like the manna bread, you know. Because matter of fact, that's also connected to actually being a breatharian as well. Like breatharians, you know, because the medulla area is also considered the River Jordan. So like crossing the River Jordan, dealing with like Moses, I think, and that was the Exodus situation. But you know, also when you think about the situation from the Paramahansa Yogananda, you know, the autobiography of a yogi, the story where he come across that yogi who knew how to be a breatharian. But long story short, you know, you know, it's like a concentration of like I want to say almost like light on a carbon melanated level within the medulla, and that's what kind of like, you know, feeds your being, you know, so therefore you're not having to use actual food. But again, there's different levels to, you know, the reincarnation process. You know, you could have been a slave master that you know, felt bad about what you did, so you come back as a slave, you know. again, just all different experience. You might want to see if you could come to an existence of like which parts of me kind of feel like, because all right, that's probably why I stopped. Because I about to say, you could come back to do something like, so say for instance, like, because there is no good or bad outside of the realms of, human moralistic systems, just experiences, and energies. But I thought about like how you could come down, like say for instance, so you were somebody who did have a kind heart and was doing good for others, but then like, fuck it, I'm gonna come down to somebody mean and harmful, but I'm thinking like, but what lesson would be in that? But I'm also realizing just because I'm not catching what lesson would be in that right now as I'm speaking to y'all, doesn't mean like there's a lesson in practically everything, so I'm pretty sure, that person would be able to learn something from that. Because when and, and of course, yes, you would be able to learn something from it, because I think about like my trips where I basically kind of sat and talked with the devil, talk with that Saturn energy, and how it's like, man, you don't realize, man, how much I get blamed. Like, matter of fact, go check out one of my psychedelic, go look at my psychedelic list, and I speak on like it's a trip where I'm talking about talking to the devil or talking to like the Lucifer energy or something of that nature, and also, or it could have been like demons need love too or something like that. It was a video or something like that. But like, because that's another thing too, as a guide, and having a higher sense of consciousness is being able to understand like the different walks of life. Like, oh, all right, I could understand why, there's racist people or KKK members here on this plane of existence. Like, I understand why, so you understand from a higher perspective of why these things are put in place. And again, that's how you're able to ascend, having that higher outlook of things compared to like, oh man, fuck them white people, fuck the KKK, or fuck them black people, or fuck them Asian people, or fuck. It's like you being tied in that vibration, that's a low vibration. So forget leaving this plane, let alone probably even getting a decent reincarnation the next lifetime. Like, if you having that mind frame, how could you be able to, govern planet or govern, a certain area of the solar system or certain galaxies, again, if you can't get past the stuff on this physical plane. And you start to see where it is some sauce to us, going through all kind of shit that's like poking the bear, like where it's provoking us to want to, get locked down into this matrix, but it's just, again, that test to really see if you're about that, because think about it, like when we trying to see who's the best at something, we really, really test them, we don't just give them no half-ass test and be like, oh yeah, well, they probably, like, nah, we gonna really see if you are who you say you are. Shout out who they were, Dennis Green, the coach. They were who we thought they were. He's the coach of the Cardinals and the Bears beat them or some shit. They were who we thought they were. But again, like on our spiritual growth, we high self source, or whatever aspects of, our higher self, testing, this aspect of ourself, in this physical body, to see if you are, are you about what you be talking about, man? If I can, another shout out to Lil Boosie. You ain't about what you be talking about. Are you about what you be talking about? Like, are you about that ascension life? And because again, if you still being duped by, oh man, the oppressor doing this, or they got chemtrails and da-da-da. And that's not to mistake from awareness, but again, if you there's a thin line between awareness, because matter of fact, even when you say the word be aware, you start to see where you get the word beware from. You know, it's like, because even when I be saying be aware, I'm like, again though, on a small level, don't be aware to a level where you're giving it too much focus. Just awareness to acknowledge that, all right, this does exist. And, all right, do what I gotta do. But I forgot what I was just said, but that's basically the gist of it. But for sure, take heed to, again, and as I'm saying this is, also, this is inner gnosis. So it's that type of information, we'll take it or leave it, of course, some of my, book knowledge and knowledge from lectures may have added to this outlook or added confirmation to this, but this is something, that that I feel so strongly about. I could say, it's a 99.9, just to leave that 1% there. It's a 99.9% chance that the process of transitioning, the transitioning process, deals with that energy, and again, that's not the whole process, but part of it, because you got the fact that the soul is actually having to quantumly move, excuse me, as well, so you also got the process of the soul movement as well, which I wasn't prepared to go in depth on that, but I'm pretty sure if I sit down with it, I get some insights. Cause matter of fact, I kind of got idea, because matter of fact, speaking with the Saturn Moon matrix, and kind of keeping the souls, projected on this physical plane, in which kind of, in so many words, allows for us to be, in this physical plane. Like the moon is like the light projector in essence. But it's matter of fact, and stopping right there. Because matter of fact, and you see that's another thing too, which I see I'm gonna have to start doing a little bit more, is like realizing I have to go watch some of my old videos, because I actually have forgotten. And when you're dealing with all this different information, like like again, I'm 1,000 videos in, I'm not gonna at the snap of the finger recall every single bit of information from all those 1,000 videos, so like, because I had to, and matter of fact, that was partly too for myself, because like that Capricorn energy be quick to be hard on myself, like, nah, you should, like, nah, fuck, I'm doing my best. It is what it is. But again, the boys that's getting touched on right now being those preachers who, in essence, like those evangelists who started the crusades and all that, coming back as the little boys that's being touched on, later on in the days, like as a karmic energy, and two, you got karmic energy not only for like to a certain extent individually, but also collectively, again, like the melanated people have a collective karma, and not all of them, as I realized too. Again, it's a certain select few of us that are like the 144 DNA markers, like we are like little DNA markers for the other people, around us, in essence. But again, you do have that collective karma as well, because we did some shit that we wasn't supposed to be doing as a collective. So, you know, here we are. Learning our lesson, going through the contrast or the pressure that makes a diamond, basically. But again, it's all these different processes. If I was I always ran away from people, in my last life, then in this life, the next life, I'm gonna make sure my life starts off with confrontation, forcing me to have to stand up to confrontation. As soon as I come out the womb, I got a situation where I'm, fighting, but I put myself in that situation to, to learn from the situation in my past life. And again, I'm just kind of throwing out just just little loose analogies as I'm going through this information, just trying to pick out a few to just give you an idea of how, like the kind of blueprint of our mind frame behind, reincarnating or not reincarnate, you know what I'm saying? Because again, we could transition to these higher planes of existence and be like, fuck it, like we ain't coming back. Some of us may go to these high planes, but then want to be like an avatar. So instead of kind of continuously rising, be like a high being, but still like a earth angel, So basically, you transition, and you could, matter of fact, again, like hierarchy is just like how we got spirit guides, or ancestors. You could be a guardian angel to a group of certain souls, you know what I'm saying? And be learning like the beginning stages of how to be a spirit guide, you know what I'm saying? Like that would actually be, your lesson on that next level. Then after you learn how to be a spirit guide, you could learn how to be a guide of one particular energy over water. Let's say, for instance, you know what I'm saying? And again, it's different level, just like going through the mystery schools on a physical plane, so as above, so below, just like we got the mystery schools, and you can learn about different types of magic or, or just different aspects of source and how the energy moves, as above, so below on those, high planes of consciousness and existence. There's tiers of, different little lessons to be learned, Again, go check out my video, Politicking to Be a Planet, which I think I got more than one video speaking on politicking to be a planet. Because in my older videos, I reference the Green Lantern movie, where they had a Green Lantern, if you're familiar with the Green Lantern, the superhero with the little rings, and they're able to make the power come out of their rings with their will. Matter of fact, Green Lantern be leaking that sauce, and I think that's why I like Green Lantern as a little kid. Because I remember, like, out of all the superheroes, like when I first saw Green Lantern, I'm like, oh, he tight, like you know what I'm saying? For some reason, I thought like Green Lantern was a little more than Superman, Batman, all other people. Like, then when I saw Doctor Strange, it was for sure like, oh yeah, Doctor Strange for sure. But like the Green Lantern, and they always talk about like how their rings work through their willpower, in essence, and how strong their willpower is. That's how strong the energy of their ring is, and that ring with their willpower and focus is able to turn into certain things. So they're giving you the straight up sauce, like, in order for us to manifest things, especially dealing with our magic, willpower and a certain level of focus and visualizations, But within the Green Lantern movie, they had one of the Green Lanterns was actually a whole planet, And matter of fact, it was such a legend, that even some of like the bad guys or villains was like, oh, so this is the baddest Green Lantern. Let me see this Green Lantern so I could, go mess him up. And so the story was like, oh yeah, the Green Lantern is on this planet, but not realizing that the Green Lantern was the planet itself, you know what I'm saying? And then as one of the villains realized it, like all the trees started, vines started growing and strapping them up and tying them down, and and he realized, oh shit, I'm on the being or the person who I thought I was coming to fight. I'm on them because they are the planet. You know what I'm saying? So they leaked a little sauce with that right there as well. Again, like hierarchies of situations. As a little baby, I barely got control of my motor skills. So how could I drive a vehicle? I got get my root chakra, my physical gotta grow a little bit, and I gotta get coordination a little bit to move as above, so below. As little baby, old souls, but as little babies to a certain extent that kind of forgot. We gotta learn, relearn how to use our Merkaba, how to use our energetic bodies. You know what I'm saying? Just like driving a car. Teenage souls. Learning how to drive that Merkaba so we could, be able to drive our soul where it needs to go. So then you see that little hierarchy of lessons, initiation, all this information always existed. But 10 years ago, matter of fact, because I be laughing at that when I see like videos of like, matter of fact, shout out to what is it? Asir Ducateers. Because matter of fact, I saw one of his videos and it was from 10 years ago. And I'm like, just laughing at like, oh, I'm such a, newbie, to this information. But again, I don't know where was I going with that. I guess just realizing again, I'm speaking on just being a newbie to the information, or realizing, again, maybe I was speaking of just realizing how long this information been out, but it was something else about it. Apologies, y'all, again. And I'm speaking about politicking to be a planet. Oh, initiation. I'm like, this information always been around, but yet 10 years ago, matter of fact, 10 years ago, and I think about that video 10 years ago where, matter of fact, and 10 years ago, I'm thinking about it was a video where he was speaking about Pascal Beverly. Wait, what's the French name? I think it's Pascal. Pascal Beverly Randolph. And matter of fact, y'all go look up Pascal Beverly Randolph. Pascal P-A-S. It'll be C-A-L sometimes, or P-A-S-C-H-A-L. Pascal Beverly Randolph. Go look up that person. Basically, the melanated metaphysician that kind of almost basically fathered sex magic, in essence. Matter of fact, H.P. Blavatsky was not too fond of the brethren, in which I'm getting into that research. But again, not to going off. Again, all this information always existed around me, but yet, I just recently got initiated into the different little mystery schools, So here it is, like right now, people walking around with all this popping off right now. And you start to see like how these movies depict, like say for instance, Doctor Strange, or like different any superhero movies where like they fighting this situation, but then the regular humans don't even know what the fuck going on. It's like, they oblivious to their shopping and, going watch a movie and eating popcorn and, doing all this other stuff. And then while these battles going on damn near in plain sight, you know what I'm saying? But they don't really even see it because they're not even initiated, But once their awareness step up a tier, now they're able to be aware, like, oh shit, this is going on, this and that. And now you're in that world, you get all kind of information, you get initiated to the next tier, you know what I'm saying? Like, again, like, end up being, not knowing any information, to being somewhere in Tibet, but that, meditating with the monks, but, you had to sit and then you had to get a insight to go possibly look at a video or pick up a book. You pick up that book and you read about it, then you read some more books about it to get to another stage, and then you learn about buying an airplane ticket, and I could go. I actually go to Tibet. You know what I'm saying? Again, initiation, step by step, as different levels of information come through. You know, but again, it's a hierarchy of lessons. You know, and that's where, you know, too, the government will have everybody so confused because you'll think like, oh, that hierarchy system they creating, that's because of racism. And, you know, like, nah, not exactly. You know, again, they take the true stuff and use it in such a manner to make you against it, you know, kind of like the energy of money. You know, it's like they know money is just energy, but to keep you from dealing with it on a high level, they make it seem as something bad. So you could be sitting around thinking energy to sustain myself is bad. And so you sit around starving thinking that, you know, in order to connect with source or to be good, I can't deal with money, or, you know, I can't deal with a lot of it because that means I'm gonna be evil like them rich people. Like, nah, you know, you know, that is not the case at all. But, you know, again, different levels of initiation. Speak about the little initiation where my brethren told me it's like a tribe in Africa. I think, well, you know, when as a rite of passage for the men, they gotta stick their head through the universe, so to speak. You know, as a matter of fact, I thought of that analogy being like us, you know, going on whether you do it inducted through meditation, you know, first and foremost, or, you know, through ayahuasca, or, you know, mushrooms or some type of psychedelic. You know, taking psychedelics in a certain extent is, you know, peeping that head. Matter of fact, yeah, peeping the head beyond the veil. You know, like, oh shit, this motherfucker ain't nothing but just a bunch of numbers falling down. What Neo with? We in this fucking matrix for real. Like, all this is just, you know, just a projection of energies for us to experience things on the physical plane. But that's basically it. Peace. I'm gonna make sure. Yep. Again, going through that subconscious process right now. You know, because that shapes, you know, how our souls move outside of the body. When we transition out of our body, you know, our subconscious is gonna have a lot to do with the movement of our soul. That's one thing I could guarantee. Again, like, I don't know, not say, just don't recall how much of this is a part of the process, but this is a fact, a part of the process. So again, I know for a fact that, you know, your subconscious is, you know, it does have a lot to do with the way your soul is going to move after you transition out of your body. You know, again, I want to say it's one of the main, you know, again, guidance systems, in essence, of how your soul gonna move is through what you're programming into your subconscious right now. Because remember, our subconscious moves with our soul. The whole reason why our subconscious responds to, you know, symbols, you know, more than just words, is because the subconscious mind existed before words existed. You know, we are telepathic, you know, beings. We are beings of high level extrasensory perception. That's why the government is constantly trying to calcify everybody's pineal gland and put a cell phone in their hand, or this technology or that technology, because they're trying to stop you from sitting down and amplifying your own metaphysical abilities. They're trying to stop you from becoming the X-Men that you know, that we are in essence, quote unquote X-Men. You know, like these different energies that are within us. You know, and I have to you know, catch myself sometimes at like, well, wanting to get back more into, you know, really working on my metaphysical abilities, you know, a little more, because I've been slacking compared to the way I used to, but, you know, but that's what it's all about, you know. That's why, they constantly trying to, from the moment you're born, you know, matter of fact, I just did a video about that, like, where When you're born, one of the important things is that connection with your mom. As soon as you come out, for one, you should be continue to be nurtured by the umbilical cord as soon as you come out. I forgot to put that in my little post. You shouldn't be around all this metal and all this machinery and stuff like that. You shouldn't be slapped on the ass and have antibiotics thrown in the eye, because again, they do all that shit to throw you off. They hit you with vaccines, dirtying up your body, in your process of growth from the beginning. But matter of fact, I don't even recall why I was here. But yeah, that's basically it, y'all. Just leave on that note. Again, just remember the importance of the subconscious mind and programming it to know that, we are God on a human experience. Go check out my videos. If you type in universal frequency subconscious, they should have videos that'll pop up on that. And any recent video that I did speaking on subconscious programming, definitely check it out on social engineering. Again, pointing out the aspects of how Hollywood programming everyone's subconscious, and again, the subconscious works on a level where it's like this big, like this big soul, or this big, gorilla or elephant. Your conscious mind is like a little small animal, and your conscious mind could be like, oh man, I ain't scared of crawfish, or I ain't scared of, I ain't scared of crawfish. But then the subconscious mind, like Big Depot, like, nah, fool, you still scared of crawfish. Because a matter of fact, so again, you conscious like, oh, I ain't scared of crawfish, But then when somebody show you one, you like, get that crawfish from out of my face. Like, well, subconsciously, you still scared of them. So maybe you might want to work on your subconscious some more to get to a place where you don't fear crawfish anymore. Because no matter how much your conscious mind could just proclaim, oh, I ain't scared of that, or I ain't scared of that, the subconscious mind gonna still show you what it is, So, but that's basically it. Peace. Happy now. Now is the vibrator course. Not too far in the future. Not too far in the past. Right now. Peace.